Okay. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, Coach Jim, to the first.
A very important match. You have now uh, over the last year, last calendar year, you have the four best teams on the continent left. You have a great matchup of two MLS teams that played in last year's MLS Cup, and you have Tigres and Leon, two incredible Liga MX teams that again, we'll push each other in the game. We tend to bring the best out of each other. I think we've had some special matches versus LAFC. And I think when you think about both franchises, it always starts at the top with strong ownership and ownership that makes good decisions. You have two architects in the teams, and John Dorrington from LAFC and Ernst Tanner from Philadelphia that are the top of their field and have built amazing squads. Myself and Steve are very lucky to have, when you look at our assistant coaches, you have coaches that are head coaches. You have Ante Razov, Mark DeSantos, Oka Nikolav over there. I have Ryan Richter, Frank Leicht, and Phil Wedden here in Philadelphia. So these are clubs that have been built, I think, the right way, have really, really strong, deep coaching staffs and really, really strong, deep groups of players.
Jim, a lot of the fans see this as revenge, see this as the new Super Bowl, so on and so forth. I think that this is the season. So, you buy into any of this stuff, or do you tell your guys to let it go?
Well, look, this is again the first leg. This is halftime of a very emotional, high intensity series again with two good teams. Both are early in the season. I think they've navigated the challenges of Champions League a little better than us, obviously, with their record right now and being unbeaten. And we're coming off of a good win against Toronto where we looked like ourselves. So, yes, the fan bases ultimately want to lift a trophy, as all fan bases do. And again, we want it more than anybody. The word revenge, I wouldn't use that one. It's an opportunity for us to now try to beat a very good team and get into the final of a major competition on our continent. So I'm not going to give you any any fuel for the fire or for the bulletin board. But again, I think the games on the field between us in the past speak for themselves. And I think we bring the best out of each other. They've been amazing games. And in some ways, Jonathan, I think you go to the old boxing adage that styles make fights. It's different styles, no question about it. It's teams that, like I said, the way we play, the way they play, it tends to be different. And it's similar to two heavyweights getting together that have a different way of playing. And there's no one right way to play in this game. And I think we, again, bring the best out of each other.
When you watch the LAFC film, how different and same is Luanga compared to what Arango was doing for them? And how do you kind of approach that challenge and also knowing that Carlos Vela is, still there as well?
Yeah, look, special players that, obviously all of them. We do have the recency of the MLS Cup where I thought, if you think back to when Olivier played against Boanga in space, he did a really good job with him. I think what makes LAFC so difficult though is they'll have interchange, whether it's Apoko, the new kid Buick who they've signed is a real dangerous player that's about to break out in this league and is really, really special. Obviously Carlos Vela and that left foot are, speaks for itself to what he's done in this league as an MVP. So Boanga is a guy right now that is getting the majority of their goals. So it's not just one person's assignment to deal with him. You have to have your back four in tune, and you have to really try to cut out service to them. I think what gets lost in LAFC is we all think of, them passing you to death and putting together 1,000 passes. But when you look at the data and the metrics that we actually value here in Philadelphia, they're the number one transition team scoring goals, and they're the number one transition team in defense as well by the metrics that we look at. So, they've adapted, adjusted. They can beat you a lot of different ways. And I really like how they play in transition. So our rest defending has to be perfect against the team because if you go end to end with them, I think you've heard me say this before. We're not built for that. We'll lose a game if they get a chance, we get a chance, because they have some guys that can really make plays in space, and we don't want that.
That also kind of relies on what Jose brings with starting the transition most defending. How vital is he going to be in just containing what they do?
Yeah, Jose's a guy that does the work of two players. He covers so much ground in there for us and has been in really good form in recent weeks. And yeah, he's excited for the opportunity and the challenge. And look, these are the kind of games there's a lot of eyes that maybe aren't normally on your typical MLS midweek game, So I always tell our players in all big games like this, you're a player or two away from, a top team coming and wanting you to play for them too. So, that's a real opportunity, not just for us, but for also LAFC. They have some real talent and a lot of guys that have been linked to different transfer rumors as well. So Jose's a guy that's been in that, category for a number of years. I love what he brings to the team. I love the intensity that he has, and he plays on the edge. And you want that in the biggest games. And this is a big game.
Jim, these games against LA have been emotional before last year's MLS Cup.
Sure.
How do you, obviously factoring in what that game was, how do you want your guys to kind of process and use that emotion this week?
Yeah, look, it's not easy. So it's a balance. And I like the word controlled chaos. I use that word with our group a lot because we want to create chaos, but we also want to be disciplined not to leave ourselves exposed. Because, in this first leg, I think you saw us with Alianza with the right approach where we went there, we didn't score, but we didn't concede. And then in leg 2, we learned at home the importance of a 1-0 win. To take you into the next tie. It actually flips the pressure on the other team because when they now concede on the road, that away goal is massive. So a lot of different tactical things will go into the game, and your approach psychologically is different than it is for a regular season MLS game because again, this is going into halftime, and I say it a lot, and you've heard me say it in the first leg. You can't win the whole thing in the first leg, but you can lose it because if you get behind against this team, you can really hurt yourself. So while those first 15 minutes have to be chaotic and we want the crowd to be nuts, and I know that they'll come out and support us, even though it's a 9:00 game for some reason, we know that we'll have them behind us. We want to get that early goal and try and push for it. But maybe more importantly than goals is keeping a clean sheet. I think we learned that over our first 2 legs. It sets yourself up for that second 90 minutes.
We're gonna pass for soon. David Malandra.
Hey Jim, two-part question for you. One, can you talk about with this being you're facing an MLS team in the Champions League, does it make it more easier than preparing for a Mexican team in the Champions League?
Easier? No, not at all. LAFC can play anywhere. LAFC, you could drop into, I think, a lot of leagues all over Europe, and they would do well. They're that talented. So, no, we know how good MLS has gotten, and we respect League MX as well. But yeah, there's a healthy rivalry between the two leagues. Seattle was the last champion. And again, us and LAFC are going to do everything in our power to try to keep that championship here in MLS.
And second part is any injury updates that we should be aware of?
We are fully healthy and ready to go. We have the full squad available for selection, and everybody is excited for the opportunity to play in a big semifinal.
Anything change with being a 9:00 kickoff rhythm-wise more than usual?
That's a good question. From what we've heard, I think they get in tonight, which is unique for the West Coast and changing time zones. And it could be an intelligent approach, to be honest, because you don't even have to get too used to the switch. The 9:00 kickoff might have something to do with that. Obviously it'd be 6 o'clock on their bodies, which is maybe more normal than 9. So it's a unique time for sure. And again, with the different developments in sports science, I still don't know if we know exactly what is the best approach. But 9:00 is certainly unique. It pushes everybody's routines and habits back about an hour and a half, 2 hours. So again, we'll be up for the game. There's no question about that. So will they. And I know our fans will be ready too.
Welcome, Alejandro. What are your first impressions for tomorrow's night game?
My first impression. Yeah, look, we're going to be facing one of the best teams in MLS. Rematch of last year's incredible final, MLS Cup final, and we are all excited, looking forward to it. It's a semifinal in international competition, and hopefully, we can go to LA after finishing the first leg with a good result here at home.
I like that fans are hyping this up to the end of days. They say it's revenge. They say it's the new Super Bowl. It's the season. So on. So at least today. What's the mood in the locker room?
Oh, definitely tell you, it's not like it's the Super Bowl final or anything like that. I think we know it's a big game for us, semifinal, but we're approaching it like we have the other games. The last leg against Atlas. We know how important it is to get a good result at home, keep a shutout. It's been kind of a little bit upsetting that we've allowed the many goals that we've let in so far this season. So I hope that we can keep a shutout because we know how important that is. And, I don't think we've beaten LAFC yet. So hopefully we'll get that victory tomorrow that we've been looking forward to. And, it's halftime. So we got to make sure that we don't, mess up tomorrow night and get a bad result. So we just need a positive result. But no, I think we're all mentally, I think obviously last year, you can call it fans or revenge, like you mentioned, things like that. Of course, we want to show what we're all about and get a good result against. We know they're a quality team, probably the best team in MLS at the moment. But we know we're a very good quality side as well. And we gave them a run for their money in MLS Cup final in their home. And we haven't played them in our home in quite some time. So I think we're all looking forward to it. We're all itching to get on the field and see if we can pull off a great result for our fan base.
Like, how much balance do you guys have to put into, especially in the first half, with the away goals being a factor of, wanting to push for the goals at home, but also not conceding and how important and how much value that clean sheet has tomorrow?
Yeah, I mean, Jim's, preaching it the whole week is just always about that, finding the right balance. But we know that we want to make sure we set the tempo early, and like similar maybe against Toronto last game where in that first half, try to, jump on them early. We know how they may play out of the back, but they're also not very, they play it pretty direct actually. And if we can jump on their first passes, win those second balls and hit them in with our transitions, like we did against Toronto, exploit, some of the spaces they may leave behind, we can jump on them. But also we got to be wary that when we do go in transition, we don't all go flying forward because we know that they're top three and their attacking transitions are very strong and they're great quality throughout. So you're right. It's all about finding the right balance because we do want to get a result. We want to score goals, but at the same time, we want to keep a shutout. We need to keep a shutout because we know how important, the away goals is in this competition.
Despite experiencing some bad weather and some later kickoff times this year, Union fans continue to show up to support this team.
Yeah.
What role do they play in this team's success, especially at home?
Yeah, look, I think winning has definitely helped bring out even more fans, right, over the past few years. But yeah, credit to them sticking it out in the terrible weather. I mean, some of them last game were in short sleeves and no shirts. I mean, they're crazy, but that's what we like to see, passionate fans. And we give them a lot of credit because even, like I said, that's one thing I love about Philly sports fans just in general, right? And just very passionate. I do enjoy that, when we're not merely playing well, they let us hear it, right? And when we're doing well, they let us hear it too. So I think it goes both ways. And we always talk about fans being like that 12th man, right? But certainly they definitely help us, motivate us to get going and pick us up when we need to get picked up. So looking forward to a good crowd tomorrow, even though, I mean, my family won't be here because of school and kids, but I know a lot of them will still brave it and come out and support the team, which is very important, and credit to a lot of the fans. We need them. We appreciate them.
I wonder what your emotions were like during that game against LAFC last year, especially having to watch that. And does that inform anything about how you're handling the emotions heading into these two games?
Oh man, that game, I mean, it was an emotional roller coaster, I'll tell you that much. that game had a little bit of everything. I mean, that was what did they used to have? Instant Classics on ESPN. I don't know if they even still do that, but that was that for this league. But yeah, I think for me, I was just so upset having missed out on that game, and I'm really looking forward to this game for selfish reasons to be a part of it, but also just to be out there with my team. As a player who's been a starter year in and year out, it's one of those tough pills to swallow, to be able to to sit on the bench and not be able to help out, or not having been able to maybe come in late into that game and kill the game off, help our team kill the game off and win the championship. So I'm definitely itching to have my opportunity tomorrow and see how we stack up and help our team hopefully get a really, really good result in front of our fans.
One question from Zoom, David Malandra.
Hey, Ali, two-part question for you. One, does this make this a little more interesting now, knowing that you're preparing for an MLS team in the Champions League compared to another team from another continent?
Does it make it more interesting? Or, I mean, no, I mean, LAFC is one of the best teams in the continent, and and the Liga MX teams are obviously well-respected teams, and we respect that league as well. I think it doesn't make it any easier, any harder. We just know it's always about who the team is in front of us that we have to play, and we try to prepare ourselves the best way possible, while respecting the opponent at hand. So I think we all know what LAFC is all about, and we knew Atlas was a tough team, especially to go in Mexico. The record for MLS teams is not great down there, and we were able to pull it off. And now, our attention goes to LAFC, and we're going to do everything it can to get a result and hopefully end up in the final against a Mexican team.
As the captain of the team, Jim always talks about defending the home field. How important is it to start this off with a clean sheet and get the fans more involved?
Yeah, clean sheets mean a lot, and we need to get back to producing clean sheets at home. So I think we saw how important it was, even though maybe some fans weren't really happy with the result with 10 men to beat Atlas only 1-0 at home. But that 1-0 was crucial because we did not concede a goal, an away goal, and we saw how important that was for us to just steal a goal down in Mexico. So yes, important tomorrow we start the same right way. And like I was talking to Joe earlier, to find the right balance of attack and defense and defense and transition. So hopefully we get the proper result that we need tomorrow to go into LA confident and motivated.
Thank you, Alejandro. Thank you, everybody.
Do you have a question, John? No? You're good?
Go.
Do you think this LAFC team is from last year's?
How different?
Yeah.
They're different in a sense that perhaps maybe they're not as too focused on always being stubborn to build out of the back. I think maybe Jim alluded to it, but even watching film on them and things like that, they're not afraid to play direct and win those second balls. And they're also similar to us. We pride ourselves on in transition moments, but when you look at game tape like we have the past few days on LAFC, they're very, very good in transitions. And something that maybe perhaps gets lost with them, thinking that they're always just tiki-taka style type of team. But yeah, I think, look, we're two teams that from last season, we still continue to look pretty good and have kept, pretty a good solid core of the team intact. So, for me right now, they're the best team in MLS and we're up there as well. So it's a good rivalry right now. Interconference rivalry, I guess.
All right. Thank you, Alejandro. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you very much.